Welcome to Unwatchable's senior project of
edition
2016. I'm looking at the camera too long.
So we wanted to do something for senior project that we enjoyed. So we decided to, hey, we have that podcast thing. Let's do that. So I guess sort of the initial idea was let's do something with the podcast, and then we actually had to find a real
to
thing.
Let us do something.
We actually had to come up with a plan so that they would let us do the podcast.
And then I created more work for myself than I needed to.
Yep. So
that's what happens.
Our plan is to figure out and dissect the three major components of our podcast. Well, it's 3 plus the podcast itself. So the 3 major components of the podcast:
technology, entertainment, serious stuff,
and then also
I can't count.
Make a meta episode where we talk about the podcast itself.
So the way we went about doing that was we brought on 4 special guests, which you can see in a series of both video and audio podcasts. Mm-hmm. In addition, we held some conversations ourselves about these topics. Michael and I spent about an hour talking about nothing but gadgets and technology. It was great.
But in order to find a good starting point, we needed to sort of get a sort of like a test, a litmus test of the waters of who is the Unwatchable audience. Yeah, look at that.
Is there an Unwatchable
audience? There an Unwatchable audience? So we went out...
The answer may shock you.
So we went out, did some interviews.
With some friends.
Interviews happen here.
And you'll find them right now. Have you heard of the Unwatchable podcast? Have you heard of the Unwatchable podcast?
Yes, I have.
No.
Yeah, we heard of it.
No.
Oh. Have you heard of the Unwatchable podcast before?
Like every once in a while. Why?
Have you ever listened to Unwatchable?
Probably like every waking second I'm not talking to someone. I like to have like one earbud in.
Yes, I have.
If you see me with an earbud, Unwatchable's going through it.
That's good to hear. What is keeping you from listening to a free podcast?
Remembering it.
If it's unwatchable, it sounds like it'd be unlistenable.
Oh.
Well, it's the 3 of you, so.
Oh. I don't think anyone listens to the show.
There's got to be like one person who likes the show.
I think Chris Barkley really likes the show.
Wait, Chris Barkley loves the show.
He loves the show. Chris Barkley would kill for the show.
Let's talk to Chris Barkley then.
So, do you know about Unwatchable?
Yes.
Oh.
What? Wow, we found one.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm your biggest fan. Did you not know that? Like, I watch almost every one.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
what do you think?
I don't watch it. Is that what you guys want?
No, I mean, we know it's like, what do you like about it?
Yeah, what do you...
It's fun. It feels like I'm hanging out with the guys. I mean, I don't really have many friends, so I don't really get to hang out with people.
Well,
I don't hang out with anyone. I just isolate myself mostly. Mm-hmm. It's like the glass menagerie, I just kind of keep to myself. Don't speak to many people. I have a couple of fish that I speak to. We have a great relationship.
Do your fish like the podcast?
I haven't introduced them yet.
What if we were to tell you that we want you to be on an episode of the podcast?
An episode of the podcast?
Yeah.
I would love to be.
You could be listened to. You can be heard by tens of people.
Oh my god! I'm excited. If you guys are offering.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on.
This is a hypothetical thing, but sure.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Thanks, man. When thinking about guests, it was a very tiring process, and by tiring process, I mean very not tiring.
We need to ask ourselves these things: technology, entertainment, and serious stuff. Who do we know who also likes those things? When it came time to talk about technology, we looked nowhere else but the Nieves brothers. All 3 of them.
3 of them. Just like the number of topics in the podcast.
Alexander.
Yes.
And there was Lawrence.
Yes.
And there was Christopher.
And their
And
fourth.
there was Bono.
Nope.
No.
See, understand, when you're building a PC, you obviously have a mindset of what you want to do with that PC. So if it's specifically a gaming PC, you're gonna spend more money on that graphics card versus if you're just doing this for like running your basic like office, things like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint stuff. You're not gonna be getting like some very fancy.
Would you just buy like a regular Dell Tower PC then? In that case,
yeah. But then again, there's always since like they were saying it's always gonna be cheaper. So then you can like put more money into having like different things like a better.
Honestly
CPU
though, if you're just gonna be, even if you like, I don't know a lot about the specs about the Razer, or anything like, but I do know that like if you're just gonna be running like Adobe systems and you don't need the most powerful PC for that, and you don't need to go and find like the exact core system for that. A basic like i7 to i9 will do that.
Wait, i9 exists?
Yeah, that's crazy. i7 though will like
Well, by the way, we don't have an i.
You can't even buy an i9.
You have an i5.
Oh, then i5.
We have an i5.
You can't even configure a
i5.
computer for an i9.
So
everyone's like, "Oh, i7's the best one." I didn't know there was an i9. You learn something every day, kids. Sometimes you learn Apple didn't give you the best one they could.
Nope.
But yeah.
Hey, so quick disclaimer. All the guests that you're about to hear us talk about, we were only able to get audio interviews of them. So we're going to upload all of those as an audio podcast, which you can find by subscribing to the podcast feed. You'll find a link to that in the description of this video. So now, back to the special.
I have Chris Barkley for...
Okay, let's talk about Chris.
So...
in the early days of the podcast, we spoke about serious things.
Yep. And every now and then we will touch on the subject.
Jump back into it.
But when figuring out someone to bring on who talked about serious stuff, we wanted to find someone who took the podcast as seriously as we do the subjects of the podcast.
So we went to our most serious guest,
Mr. Chris effing Barclay. Chris effing Barclay.
Okay. And then who's our movies guest?
Oh, we should talk about the meta episode real quick.
Meta episode.
The meta episode.
Big deal. We got OG Unwatchable host when I first started the show. Rosser Martinez back on the show.
Mm-hmm. Had him on. Had a little good discussion about the podcast that veered into a gaming talk. That was interesting.
Inevitably.
Yep. And then also we decided to have someone that you've never seen before, you've never heard before, but he has a perfectly normal name, but you've never met him before, so I understand why you want to know it. Our lovely editor, Jason Define. That's his real name. I just used a bench.
His real name is Jason Define. He is a wonderful man.
He's great. We had him on, had a little quick discussion about what goes into editing the Unwatchable podcast, making us sound all beautiful. And
he's not editing this.
He's not editing this. This is all us, but he will be editing the audio things for the podcast. But it veered into sort of a discussion about like music and stuff.
He's a cool guy.
He's a really cool guy.
So when we recorded the sit down with the three of us, we actually had no idea who our guest was going to be to talk about movies with. We ended up getting my good friends from camp, Dante and Jake, onto the show to talk about movies. And we had a great conversation about comics, the Oscars, all sorts of great stuff. And you can listen to their episode, like the others, by subscribing in the link below. But I'm just going to cut in a bit where we had no idea who our movies guest was going to be. So we just riffed on about talking about anyone. So I think that's like a funny thing. You know, shows you the easygoing nature of the Unwatchable podcast.
As of now, we don't know who's going to be doing the movies episode.
As of now, we don't know who's going to be doing the movies episode. So we're just going to say something about the insert. We're going to say insert name here for whatever we're doing. We got insert name here for the episode.
I honestly didn't believe we would get insert name here.
I didn't either.
I mean, insert name here is just such a hard person to get a hold of. That it's just like it was impressive when we got.
But when insert name here finally got back to us and said that he, she, or they would love to be on the show, we could not resist having insert name here on.
Yeah, no. and it's so cool all the stuff that insert name here is doing, like especially with insert the stuff they're doing here.
So that's it. That's the Unwatchable Senior Project. Thanks so much for watching this video and learning a little bit about what we do on the podcast. If you want to see two great video podcasts, you can go on to this channel in the coming days, and you'll see a one-on-one conversation with me and Michael talking about technology, and then at the same day, I think it's gonna be Friday of this week, you'll find us and the Nieves brothers on video talking about technology. So those are two really compelling technology conversations that we have, one of which is exclusive to this YouTube channel. To listen to all the other great interviews that we got, it's really important that you subscribe to Unwatchable on iTunes. So go onto iTunes, there's an app on your phone called Podcasts, type in Unwatchable there, and you'll be able to find every episode we've ever done. I'm going to release all these interviews. We're going to do 2 a week. So we'll do the meta episode on Tuesday, the technology episode on Friday, and then next Tuesday we'll do the movies episode, and then next Friday I will release the serious stuff episode with Chris Barclay. Thank you so much for watching our senior project video, and we hope that we've made a fan of you.